nice when
that's
happens.
my favorite thing. Awesome. Okay, hi,
Yeah.
welcome to Thanks Academy, the podcast where we watch all the best picture winners of all time in random order with random friends. And today's random friend is Mr. Adam Hrabik.
Hi.
And Adam is here on a very exciting day because neither one of us have seen what I believe the French call Le Godfather. Right?
Yeah, that is right, yeah.
That's the translation?
Le Godfather.
Le Père de Dieu. So yeah, this is
the
our
daddy of God.
God Daddy. Ooh, God Pappy. That's what I want to watch. I have seen. Okay, so I have not. I've seen snippets of The Godfather. How about you? Have you seen any of it?
I mean,
Or
if
just
you
parodies?
call a snippet literally the leave the gun, take the cannoli, or
Right.
I'll make him an offer he can't refuse. Like it literally those 2-second windows is the most I've seen of this.
Just shit they show on Oscar telecasts or parody so many times you feel like you've seen it. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at with it, except for one scene that when I was in college, we watched in a film class. And, you know, long-time listeners are going to laugh right now that I was ever in a film class and didn't see any of these movies. But we watched a scene with Marlon Brando and a little girl in a garden. I don't know where the garden is. I don't know what Marlon Brando was doing with a little girl. All of the other students in the class were, like, jaws on the floor and getting into deep conversations about the symbolism of the scene. And I was literally just like, wait, what the heck is going on? And they're like, you don't know the plot of this movie? And I'm like, it's mafia, right?
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen it. And they were like, well, that was kind of a prerequisite. We didn't think we had to mention it, but you have to see the movie to understand this scene. And I'm like, well, now I've seen that scene, and I don't understand this movie. And I kind of just left it there. I was like, well, that's good.
Speaking of which, it's impossible legally to slander someone who's dead. So if you want to say that Marlon Brando was doing something awful in that garden, it's totally allowed.
He wasn't. He was just
okay.
interacting with this little girl. And I don't even remember what happened. There was something about people were talking about oranges a lot. Oranges became very important, and they started talking about the color orange in the whole movie. And I was just I honestly thought this was a black and white movie. I was not prepared to talk about orange.
I'm picturing them doing their mob. They're doing the sanitation department thing, but it's like oranges. They're like, bushel of oranges fell off the truck.
Oh my god! So there you go. Maybe that's something that'll be fun for us to do.
Yeah, try to figure out what the
what the
mafia
hell was up with oranges.
What their mafia scheme is.
Yeah, like is the color orange anything we care about?
Have you seen other mob movies?
Yes, I've seen Goodfellas.
Okay.
I've seen Casino. I've seen what was the De Niro, Pacino, Heat. Which isn't really a mob movie, but it's sort of there. I mean, I've seen everything that was made sort of Scorsese on. I didn't see the Coppola era stuff.
You've seen everything that was inspired by this.
Exactly. And having watched all of those and not really enjoyed them, or at least not enjoyed them to the level that everybody else seems to, you know, I didn't feel the need to go. But it's sort of like I've seen a bunch of Civil War movies. I didn't love them. Why would I go watch Gone with the
Right, you
Wind?
don't need to go actually fight in the Civil War now.
Yeah. Also, this is one of those movies that gets parodied so much. I also haven't seen It's a Wonderful Life, because I have seen It's a Wonderful Life 90 times as a parody. Why would I watch it at this point? You know,
it's one of the old movies. I'm always not sure if I want to watch it because I feel like half the time I sit down and watch an old classic movie, I'm just like, okay, I know all these tropes.
Right.
These have been molded and remolded. It's now just literally the whole plot of this movie is now like a rule you have to put in your movie to make it like a good movie now.
Yes.
And so this is no longer anything unique to me. And then other half the time, it'll be something like Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I've never seen anything like this. This is...
Yeah, they don't make it like this anymore. Kind of thing. That's the older stuff, like 1980 and before, let's say.
Yeah,
I've noticed when we watch these, it falls in one of those two categories. Either one, you have to really kind of stretch your brain and go, well, I guess at the time that was mind-blowing.
Right.
Like we watched some romantic comedy from the 30s that was literally the pattern for every single Looney Tunes cartoon. And it was like, why are they doing all these Bugs Bunny things? And then we were like, wait a minute, Bugs Bunny was doing things out of this movie.
Why do they keep saying it's Wabbit season?
Seriously, there's a hitchhiking scene where she sticks her leg out and we're like, oh, that old thing. But I guess this movie invented it, right? So it's either that or the opposite. It's like, holy cow, who knew? Like, The French Connection, I thought was going to be sort of like a Godfather thing where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go see the original kind of heist movie. Mm-hmm. But no, The French Connection is one of the most mind-blowing, exhilarating action movies I've ever seen, and I would put it up against any action movie that's coming out now because it's more original.
Yeah.
So that happens, and I'm like, Godfather has such a great reputation that I'm honestly unsure which way it's going to go. Obviously, it's been parodied and copied and mined and turned into an entire genre. I've watched all the seasons of Sopranos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to fall flat, but maybe it's one of those so original and unique that it'll be like, wow.
One of the things I do like about old movies is they didn't have as much. They didn't know as much about what they could do with film, so they had to be a lot more creative and imaginative when it came to like even simple shots or transitions. Yeah. So it's very interesting to see that because to see like the kind of techniques they come up with to do.
That's the exact thing that everybody says to excuse George Lucas's Star Wipes. But yes, that's...
yeah. Well, George, I didn't know you made this with PowerPoint.
You know what's funny is I've seen a lot of Coppola. I'm not like ignorant of Coppola. Like, so one of my favorite Coppola movies is I love Gene Hackman to death. Gene Hackman movie called The Conversation that's like really well shot and kind of Orson Welles-y. And then of course Heart of Darkness and Apocalypse Now. The combo of the documentary plus the movie. Those are fascinating to watch.
Okay, what's the documentary?
The documentary is the one that's called Heart of Darkness, or Hearts of Darkness. I can't remember if it's plural or not. And it just details the making of Apocalypse Now.
Okay,
but it's one of those documentaries that's almost as famous as the movie because that production was apeshit bad.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Everybody was crazy. Marlon Brando was insane.
I know that Marlon Brando... The reason they kept him in shadow for the whole movie was because he was about 60 to 70 pounds fatter than what they wanted him to be.
Yeah.
And apparently, when they hired him out for the movie, they were like, okay, you're going to play this colonel. You're going to be just insane, militant. You're going to be jacked. Here's a bunch of money. We know you're fat and living on this island right now. Take this money. Go get in shape. And he's like, okay, cool. And he takes the money and he just like gets fatter.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, before this podcast, before I had to watch, well, I didn't have to, it was actually kind of a pleasure. What was the Union movie? I watched it with Pat Dean. Something on the docks. He's not dock worker.
Shit. I don't know. Does it have Richard Pryor in it?
No. This is 50s. It's a social justice movie from the 50s. It's very communist. It was made by Elia Kazan. I'll insert it. Okay. You know what movie I'm talking about. We watched it for this podcast. I saw Rebel Without a Cause. And then I'm watching this. Before this podcast, my encounter with Marlon Brando had mainly been documentaries about what a fucked up person he is to work with because of this and the Island of Dr. Moreau remake that he did, where he similarly showed up not only fucking overweight, but insisting that he had to wear white pancake makeup and a large lady's gardening hat. And then he fell in love with like a little person on the set who was supposed to just be playing an animal. But he said, get the makeup off of him. That's my little buddy. And he had the crew make him up to look like a tiny Marlon Brando.
Oh my
and
God.
He just had him sit next to him the whole time. And it was literally the inspiration for Mini-Me. Yeah. And that was just one of the things going on in that movie, because Val Kilmer was also going crazy at the time, and he was in it. And like, if the Island of Dr. Moreau,
he was going crazy back then.
Yeah, too? This was when Val Kilmer went from like movie star. This is right after Batman.
Oh, okay. This is
when he went from it's like late 90s. It's like when he went from like major bankable A-list star to what we now have,
perfect human being,
perfect ranch hand who happens to act in movies sometimes and is delightful. Anyway, that got off track. Well, I normally ask what do you think The Godfather is going to be about, but I think we both know what it generally is about. Sicilians.
But I am very curious about the specifics because it is one of those things that it's been troped to death. So the only things I don't know are like specifically what happens in the movie.
What do you think? What do you think the plot of the movie is?
Okay. I do know a little bit.
Okay.
But not a whole... I know one of the famous scenes that happens at the end, but I don't know who is involved, if that makes sense.
Is it the horse head?
No, but I know about the horse head. It's
okay.
like there's a shooting of some kind.
That makes sense.
There's a baptism, I think, involved somewhere. Okay, so Marlon Brando, I'm going to assume he's the Godfather. And I think his son is played by James Caan. I think his son...
Really?
I think... Am I wrong?
I thought Pacino was the son.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I thought that James Caan plays a character named Sonny Corleone.
Well, maybe his name is Sonny, but he's not. Well, we'll find out. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I assume that they're... Yeah, other than that, I guess mob hijinks. I really don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's a standard family power structure. I mean, we've seen it a million times. The older generation dies off for some reason, and the younger generation struggles for power.
Marlon Brando walks around his house, and he sees his son with no shirt, just laughing at the computer. Like
It's a sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like Roseanne. Marlon Brando's playing Roseanne.
So one of my favorite parts about The Sopranos
Except
is how
racist, even though he's Italian.
One of my favorite parts about The Sopranos is how they keep referencing basically like The Godfather and this like mythos of the Italian mafia. Meanwhile, they're all just wearing bowling shirts and just they're fucking disgusting. But they've modeled their whole lifestyle off of this idea that was basically invented by this movie.
Well,
so
I've heard some interviews that apparently one of the people in this, who's, I don't remember, he's like a Rosencrantz or Guildenstern type of a character.
One of the two.
He's in it, he's named, he's around, but he's not like a main character. Is an actual mob fixer who was working in Hollywood at the time, and he helped Coppola get the union off his back because the Teamsters didn't want this movie to get made because it would make them look bad. Like, there's all these stories about how like authentic it is.
Yeah.
And like, in order to get the movie made, he had to get a bunch of actual fucking mobsters hired up, and then they all of a sudden they got starstruck and wanted to like help make it authentic. So, and then Mario Puzo has a pretty good reputation as a novelist in terms of his research. Like, he knows what he's talking about.
Okay.
So I feel like it's going to be more authentic than like the stuff written by people who only knew this movie, making a copy of a copy. You know,
because those people probably pick up more on the aesthetic part, which the aesthetic part of any movie is obviously going to be mostly of the director's vision,
stylistic. Yeah, exactly. And I think but we'll see. I mean, we'll make our own decisions, I guess. It's a long movie. We should start. Let's watch The Godfather.
When did this come out? Like 1972?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you a big fan of Mike Patton, Faith No More?
No, I'm not really familiar with them.
Okay, he's just a weird kind of pseudo metal guy, and one of his side projects was just doing like weird a cappella metal versions of 1970s scores.
Really?
And my favorite track is the Godfather one, even though I had never seen the movie. So I think of this as a weird death metal song.
America's made my fortune. And I raised my daughter in the American fashion. I gave her freedom, but I taught her never to dishonor her family.
That's a shiny tooth.
She found a boyfriend, and an Italian. She went to the movies with him.
It's so dark. It's like Game of Thrones. God.
For a certified check of $1,000.
How did you do that?
Father made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Hey!
Oh, there's that line. The line we all know.
Luca Brazzi held a gun to his head, and my father assured him that either his brains or his signature would be on the contract.
You shouldn't
That's a true story.
tell people that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't tell people. Omerta.
Right, yeah.
What happened to Omerta? You can't use that shit to impress a date.
Right. Even Tony Soprano knew that.
Yeah, that's some season 4 reveal, you know?
Yeah. Which is something you don't talk about, even with your... Like, he would...
Yeah.
Even when Tony was talking with Carmela, he would never be go into that kind of detail.
Right.
For liability purposes. Like,
maybe they had to explain it to an audience that had never seen a mafia movie before. What does he mean after he couldn't refuse?
Yeah. Oh, but why couldn't you just refuse it?
It's so subtle, I don't get it. Grape juice. Man, Marlon Brando is having the time of his life with his jaw right now.
Tell me I got an overbite again.
I mean, also, did he command a team of ninjas? Am I jumping the gun? Is there not going to be a horse head here?
It very well could be. But either way, it's like... This
seems like a horse head kind of moment.
Yeah, but either way, you're right. It does take some... Beyond the... Coming up with the idea of... Oh, yeah, he's got blood on this. There's blood on the covers already, yeah.
So it's creative, but it's also like, how...
Yeah.
Do you do that? Mm-hmm. The logistics. He's a good project manager.
Yeah. Okay, if you're putting together a team of guys...
Yeah.
You're gonna cut off a horse's head and put it in a sleeping man's bed. How many people do you think you have to start with, first of all?
There you go. In a mansion with a complete staff, probably some security.
Yeah.
And you could sneak it to the foot of his bed. That's some, like, the monsters are going to nibble you shit that you're, like, trained to wake up when you feel your feet getting touched. And a horse head weighs, what? 20 pounds, maybe?
Oh, God. I would say 40.
40? A big thoroughbred like that? So that's not a light touch. You put that in your waterbed, you're going to have a tsunami.
Yeah. What you have to do is you have to put something heavy in his bed before he goes to sleep, so that when you can do like the sandbag Indiana Jones thing and just lift the brick off and then put the horse's head in, so he doesn't even notice.
And you're gonna have to count on him sleeping in the fetal position all night.
I couldn't find out how much. But the Thalia family is behind him here in New York.
That was fun, but I have no idea what's happening now.
How about his prison man?
They found a man with an even bigger fedora, and they're gonna get him to do crimes now.
Top narcotics man.
Hey, call me on this number. 1 of 7 men will pick up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I can't talk.
If I said that, they'd kill me. It's complicated.
Hey, Mikey, why don't you tell that nice girl you love her? I love you with all of my heart. If I don't see you again soon, I'm gonna die. Come over here, kid. Learn something. You never know, you might have to cook for 20 guys someday. You see, you start out with a little bit of oil, and you fry some garlic. Then you throw in some tomatoes, tomato paste. You fry it. You make sure it doesn't stick. You got it to a boil. You shove in all your sausage and your meatballs. Huh?
Did he just say fry the garlic in water like an animal?
Did he say in water?
Yeah, just in water.
Weird.
Dude, olive oil.
Yeah, no kidding. You need a fat if you're going to fry something.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just boiling garlic.
Right, it'll be all gray. Yeah.
It's just going to be soft
Your
garlic.
meat's going to get all gray.
Send some bodyguards with him.
Because he's too nice.
And also, I'm going to tell you in detail what he does for a living.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Let me tell you about the time you made this guy an offer you can't refuse. Now you might be saying, what does that mean? An offer you can't refuse? I've never heard of such a thing. Well, I'll explain.
It's extortionary murder.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a state crime and a federal crime. It's really kind of special.
Yeah.
Steak quesadilla?
Yes.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic, Mike. Extra, extra, read all about it. Velveeta saying.
That was a bummer.
I definitely know this movie didn't invent this swirling newspaper cliche. I think that's been around as long as swirling newspapers.
The first newspaper ever printed, somebody took it and spun it around on the table and go, guys, wait until the movie's invented.
Look at this exciting way to deliver the news. This could be good for exposition, montages, Batman television shows,
Animaniacs.
I hope there's olive oil in there. Oh, jeez, there's definitely olive oil in there. Hey, Vito's back.
He's alive. They kept showing that one guy on his twin bed. Just a bummer. It's like in Sons of Anarchy when like most of the main guys in the club like lived in the club in like these little dorms.
Yeah. It's crime doesn't pay. It's about as lucrative as Juice Lands, you know? Well, I mean, there's a reason for that. Juice Land is a crime, but
I mean, at least working at Juice Land, you probably get a nice like banana smoothie every once in a while for free.
I know, but Juice Land is a racket.
Yeah.
It should be a crime. Here, I squeezed a fruit for you, $20. Oh yeah, he seems much better.
He's doing great. He's smiling like twice a day now.
Especially when you tickle his feet. That seems safe. He's not strapped in or nothing.
he falls down like OJ in Lethal Weapon.
Hook me up to my red wine.
Yeah. I've only got the white wine right now. It's so dry.
They only give me the Prosecco.
Love your grandson friend.
Why are you learning to read? That's bullshit.
Non solo i mascoli, sono morti tutti per vendetta.
That's the fucking funniest thing I've ever seen.
They're all dead.
I thought he was going to say the war.
I know.
No.
They're all,
Too many vendettas.
they're all dead from vendettas.
Oh my god, so many vendettas. You have no idea. The women are getting into it now. Like, shut up, you're going to start a vendetta. Oh, it's a toll booth. Oh shit.
Oh boy.
That makes sense. Do you think they learned something from the 5 shots to Dad? Okay. God.
The kick killed him.
Hey guys, run before anybody hears that.
Man, whatever happened to Tommy guns? You never see a Tommy gun anymore.
I know, stupid, efficient, non-jamming semi-automatic weapons that are used in every mass shooting now. Really took the Tommy gun out of it.
I want a gun with a circle on it. This was the one thing we didn't want to happen.
Yeah. Maybe we should have tailed him closer than 6 miles away.
Yeah, we really let him get away from us.
Yeah, shouldn't have stopped at Whataburger.
We were right behind him, and the max speed for a car in this day and age is 13 miles an hour, but wow, he got away.
Oh, so I guess they have to call Michael back.
They have to tickle Don's feet so he smiles again so they can tell him.
Yeah. Or does the daughter inherit it now? I'm unclear on the rules of
the mafia lineage.
Of medieval mafia land times. See with the crying babies in this movie, it's not making it more enjoyable.
Michael Francis Ritchie, do you renounce Satan?
I do renounce him.
Dang. That stinks.
What about the massage therapist?
He's fine.
Okay. Clever girl.
I do renounce them.
Well, what'd she do?
Yeah, I don't know who either of those people were.
Wow, he did
Sharpshooter.
Did that with flair.
Michael Ritchie.
This one time I'll let you ask me about my affairs.
Well, you just used to tell her. Even when she didn't ask.
Yeah, my dad fucking popped a guy.
Oh man, he's dishonest. Now I can't root for him.
Just when you think you have a hero.
Oh boy. I'm still rooting for Italian Rifle Guy. I don't care if he turned coat or what. He was the coolest man in the movie.
Yeah, never let that bandolier out of his sight.
I mean, but
fellas, fellas, is it gay to kiss your Godfather
oh my
on the
god.
ring?
Okay. all right. That's. All right. Well, so that was somewhat tedious. I thought. I don't know. What do you?
I personally think that was the best movie in history, and I don't think that will ever change.
You certainly were on the edge of your seat and jumping up and down with every twist and turn.
I was excited for all three of those days that we spent watching this movie.
I thought, oh my god, Adam's finally found his favorite movie.
Yeah, I can't believe it took me this long.
And here comes a blistering analysis of what makes it the best movie of all time. I'm not even sure. I mean, I'm sure I know what happened, because what happened was just what we guessed would happen at the beginning.
Right, but we don't know what this movie was made about, really.
There's so many dumb details that I just don't care about, and so many characters and so many last names.
And I don't know. I know some of it is comes from what we were talking about earlier, how it's all these tropes that have been used and reused over and over. But it just looking at it as a story in and of itself, it was hard to get attached to anything.
Right, because what is it about? Is it about family loyalty? Not really.
No,
because he pretty much pushes Fredo out in the cold, and nobody cares when Sonny gets killed. So this isn't like a big family loyalty morality tale.
No,
in the least.
Mm-hmm. And
and then he lies to his sister and also kills her husband. So like, definitely no family loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Like zero of that.
Yeah, Marlon Brando disappears for about an hour and a half, and then comes back.
Yeah,
and then dies for no reason again. Like, why not just kill him in the beginning and make the rest of it the arc that I think that the movie was trying to make the whole time.
It would have been a lot more exciting to watch Michael Corleone justify his own takeover of the family than just sort of get, the blessing from Papa that gives him, all the power that he needs to pull off whatever he thinks was so clever at the end, which the clever plan was just basically kill all your enemies real fast.
And it wasn't super clear. I could tell from context, but it wasn't super clear that it was even Michael's guys doing those hits.
Exactly.
And I also don't know who he killed.
Right, or why. I mean, I know the one, main family that was opposing them wanted him killed. We saw him get shot on the staircase. Okay, that made sense.
Mm.
And then the person, Abe Vigoda, that made sense.
Yeah. Mo Green, the famous Vegas guy.
Yeah, killing off Mo Green, totally. That took too long. But that could have happened a lot sooner.
It should have popped him right when you first met him.
But then they shot up 7 other people who we just have to assume were what? Drivers and bodyguards? I don't know.
Accountants. I don't know.
Or were they the other 5 families? Who knows? Who cares?
Right.
And what are the repercussions of this? I guess that's why they made a sequel.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's all a coherent story if we watch all 19 hours of these movies. Are the other 2 this long?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I was going to say I'm done with these, but I'm not, because I have to watch the second one.
Eventually.
Who knows? Maybe next week. It's again, I said this with Lord of the Rings, which I very much disliked watching again. I didn't love it when it was in the theaters, and then watching it again, I was like, this has been defeated by current television standards, much less movie standards.
But at least Lord of the Rings, I can tell you what happened and why.
No, it's not as easy as you think. I watched it again, and I'm like, wait, because I was just watching the third one, because that's the only one that won.
Yeah.
If you don't refresh yourself on a lot of details, it's about as confusing as this movie. There's lots of people, and they're all mad at each other, and I'm sure some of them have reasons. But anyway, I was like, well, Game of Thrones is better than, more entertaining. I'm not going to say better or worse, but just more entertaining and has higher production values than Lord of the Rings. And I'll say the same for Sopranos. I know it's derivative of this, but that story, I was so much more vested in those characters. And yeah, I know that took 8 seasons and 175 hours, but I was from episode 1.
Right. It
more into it.
I feel like it understood what it was trying to say. Whereas this movie, it's at times in little blinks and snips, it felt like it was making a commentary on this whole thing.
Right, it's not.
But for the most part, it seemed to just be depicting it.
Yes.
And not even in any particularly interesting way.
Perfect, that's exactly. It felt like I went to the zoo.
I went to the Mafia Zoo.
And I stood in front of the Mafia enclosure for 3 hours.
That's perfect.
There was a plot, but the plot was I happened to show up during mealtime. Like, they're being fed. I get it.
I caught a window of mafia activity.
Oh, is that one the alpha? Seems like that one's the alpha. Oh no, the alpha died. I guess that one's the new alpha. The end. Like, it was
right. Yeah, it was like a nature documentary, but for mafia.
This movie had no idea what to do with a female. Like, absolutely zero idea what to do.
Except just beat her up. Like, that's the only thing it ever knew what to do with a woman.
Yeah, the women in this movie all exist to be wed in bed. That was it. And they cry when they don't get their way, and I think that was their character traits that they were given. As a collective whole, the differentiation between the women mostly boiled down to hair color and accent.
Right, the whole movie starts at Don Corleone's daughter's wedding, and then
we don't even find out who she married till like Act 2.
Right, and then it turns out it's just this guy who beats the shit out of her all the time.
Yep.
And we found out the only thing we ever know about this woman and what she wants is that she eventually at the end didn't want her husband murdered, and that's it. That's the only thing.
Sure why?
Right, right.
They had a kid together.
I guess it would be harder. I mean, I guess on some level it would be harder to raise a kid by yourself than with an extra parent. But
you belong to the most powerful mafia family,
right? But yeah, that's the thing.
You can afford daycare.
Yeah, right.
The dude beats you.
Yeah. In any mafia house, there are 17 people in there at all times. You never have to go to. You're right. You never have to.
And you know what they're doing in that house? They're not sitting around. They're cooking.
Yeah,
they're fine.
They're cooking. They're talking on the telephone. They're wearing suspenders with white beaters and no shirt over it.
Yeah, exactly. You know exactly what you're going to get with or without a husband. A husband who, by the way, you tried to stab with a knife.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean,
it would be like if at the end of The Shining, where Shelley Duvall is like mad at the hotel for killing her husband.
She goes back and yells at the painting. The photograph with Jack Nicholson in it. Like, you assholes. Yeah. Why'd you take my husband away from me? Oh my god! Yeah, so I didn't hate them. It's well made. The middle of it, I legitimately got into it. It got kind of exciting. When Sonny was in charge and like, what are they gonna do about Dad getting popped?
Right. It seemed like it was gonna be about that, and
that was pretty.
And then Sonny gets shot, and Vito comes back, and now it's just gotta kind of like. Float back to Earth somehow.
Yeah,
and they do that by killing Vito in the garden via I guess I don't know,
heart attack.
He coughed too much,
old age.
Yeah,
too many oranges. It's sort of that's what it was. They lost all narrative moment because there was never any doubt. I had never any like, oh my god, is Michael gonna get shot or is he gonna win? It was so clearly. He had to win.
Yeah.
And there was no struggle with, like, well, who should take over the family? Michael's the only one left. I mean, you're not going to give it to Fredo.
No, and, like, because of the cultural impression that I have of this movie, I know that it's, like, because of the kind of person that I know really likes this movie, I knew that it would be, like, it would end up being like Al Pacino or maybe James Caan, like getting some sort of cool Tommy Gunn related victory at the end.
Exactly, and I was kind of hoping it would come to a head between the two of them. There'd be some sort of civil war.
That would have been interesting.
I would have been really fascinated by the morals of those two immoral dudes clashing, but it wasn't anything nearly that interesting.
Right, and it seems like when you join the mafia, it seems like your death your premature death is all but inevitable.
Right.
It's never there is no winning here.
Unless Vito gets to die in the orchard.
Sure, but it's still
after getting completely shot.
Right,
Like,
he could have died earlier too.
Totally hella shot.
But right, I forget what I was really trying to say.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. That was my fault, not yours. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, after the end of this movie, it still seems like it seems like a victory, but Michael Corleone is still probably going to die early, probably from a mafia-related incident. Like, it's not a good life for any of these people, and that's what was depicted. But at the end, I'm still supposed to take away some sort of victory for him, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm.
I don't get it. I just don't get the appeal. I don't know. Is it just people think that Italian Americans are fascinating on some level? Is it just a zoo thing? Like, I
think that's what I mean.
Let's watch.
I will grant that was probably a lot of its appeal at the time.
Yeah.
But there have been so many more and better depictions of it since then.
More human.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because, I mean, like, who is Michael Corleone? He kind of goes from being a quiet kid who
what does he
brags
want?
Too much.
What does he want?
Nobody knows.
If you can go to Italy and just meet someone and go, okay,
he wanted apple onion.
Yeah, he wanted apple onion. He got married to his loving wife, apple onion.
He got what he wanted.
And then after your apple onion dies, we don't see him change. He just goes back to America and suddenly is like cool with being boss.
He just starts acting slightly more Al Pacino-y.
Right. There was never any. We were just presented events that happened in his life, and we're given we're shown no actual character turn. We're just supposed to internalize them.
You're supposed to just root for him because he's a dude.
He's a
dude doing a dude's job or something.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a soldier who went to war because he was told to, and then he became Godfather of the mafia gang because he was told to, ostensibly, more or less.
Yes, that's the problem. It really does boil down to like, we get to watch a line of succession happen exactly the way lines of successions happen.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Neat.
Thanks. I've never had a job.
I think, and I don't want to belabor this too much, and I don't think it's the reason I was disappointed in the movie, but I do think that this is an especially depressing movie to watch with Donald Trump as the president and Donald Trump Jr. as his hype man, and the notion that in Trump's head he's doing this shit when this dumb shit is way beyond him, and we can all tell that because he's absolutely awful at any form of racketeering. He's been caught at all of it.
Right, well, he's
terrible.
Donald Trump is like Tony Soprano watching this movie.
Well, he's like worse. He's Donald Trump watching Tony Soprano watch this movie. He's
that too.
Dumbest possible version.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, probably. I'll give you that. But he does. Yes, it is him watch. He does absorb something like this and think that that's the kind of shit he's getting away with.
Yeah, well, no, he thinks. I mean, the whole Apprentice, his whole persona on The Apprentice is clearly modeled after the mafia. You know, that kind of power. Like, I'll do you a favor, or I'll fire you, or I'll whack
Even
you.
the aesthetics of like the boardroom they set in. It was
it.
dimly lit the way every
he
room in this movie was. Yeah.
He fucking wears suspenders. I know it. He wears suspenders and a wife beater.
He wears suspenders and no pants.
Yes.
Like he just hangs them over his shoulders.
They're attached to his socks. That's why his tie is so long. He doesn't understand that he has the pants on.
He's got the suspenders socks that people have, but they're the full suspenders. He puts the shoulder suspenders, stretches them down, and attaches them to each sock.
This explains everything. Explains why his hair is combed up and all. He's just an elongated Salvador Dali. Have you seen
those pictures of him like standing? He'll be like outside of the White House.
Oh, he's just leaning.
Oh, he's leaning?
Yeah.
That's those suspenders.
Suspenders are pulling
They're
him
attached
down.
to his socks, and then he's able to dangle his upper body far beyond his toes.
Oh my god, is that how... never mind. Okay, I was going to ask if that's how Michael Jackson did the smooth criminal thing.
It was, yes.
Is that the trick? Okay.
Yeah, Macaulay Culkin would sit below the stage and grab onto the straps.
No, we don't need children grabbing on any parts of Michael Jackson.
I'm saying clothing strap. This is a prop. This is a trick. It is a magic trick.
I'm sorry if you are one of the many high percentage of people who think this is one of the top 10 movies of all time, but what?
Yeah, because it's top 1.
No.
Top 10, but don't get real. It's top 1.
It's not top 1. It's not... It's a good movie. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie. I'm not that contrarian. But I just didn't... It's sort of like... it's like a bestseller. Like, if you pick up a Tom Clancy book or some shit.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know, like just a bestseller hardcover that you get somebody for Father's Day. And you read that shit and you're like, well, I can see why this author makes a lot of money. The book reads fast. I finished it because I couldn't stop until I got to the end. But did I learn anything about the human condition? Would I even come close to calling it literature? No. But because it's a movie... we go ahead and say, well, it was good, so it must be cinematic history.
Yeah.
And no, I think it's just like a pretty good movie about the mafia that was very influential. But like, instead of treating it like the Beatles, can we treat it like, I don't know, the Monkees? Like, it's just like a good example of the genre. That...
Why does this have particularly more acclaim than like Taxi Driver?
Goodfellas is an infinitely more interesting movie to me, not only in terms of plot, but in how it was made and everything.
Stylistically, it's 1,000 times more interesting.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, even I'm not like the world's foremost film scholar, but even I'm like, damn, look at the camera things they're doing and the meaning that it imbues the scene with. Fuck.
Yeah. I didn't like this movie.
Yeah.
And I barely think it's good.
I wish that was the rating system I had thought to implement from the very beginning. It's the best picture owner. How much do you think it's
How
good?
much good is it?
Is it all the way good, barely good, or no good?
I will give it points on a technical level, but I'm not going to go beyond that, really.
It looks great. It has a very good internal consistency to its world. The writing seems accurate. I mean, it felt it felt at times almost like a stylized documentary. Mm-hmm. But like, I believe the world that it depicted. So I'll give it that. It wasn't some of these bad ones that we've been watching. You don't even have that. You're like, what is this bullshit, and why are they singing? Right. You know.
I'm comparing this to another movie about the mob from this specific era. Miller's Crossing, which is 1,000 times better than this movie.
Miller's Crossing was a good decade later.
Oh yeah, it was much. No, I mean, but
of the 1940s.
The depiction.
Yeah. Miller's Crossing fucking rules. Yeah. Well, that's because, again, the Coens are writers. Yeah. And I think Scorsese usually knows and spots good writing. I don't know if Francis Ford Coppola, I think he's more of a Tim Burton-y kind of director, where every once in a while he stumbles into a great script, but he's all about making it look great. Right. I don't think that's his strength, is like, I'm going to tell an amazing story. He's more like, I'm going to create a world that you want to hang out in. Yeah, and that was true. I totally wanted to hang out in this world for 3 hours. I didn't mind being there. I just wish there was more of a...
I mean, I don't want to ever talk to anybody who's like anybody in this movie ever.
No,
I to actually hang out with them.
No. But yeah, I'll go to the zoo and look at them.
Yeah,
keep going. Yes.
Until we invent a mafia zoo, the Godfather will suffice.
We have a mafia zoo. You haven't been to Phoenix? That's what that is. It's just like the San Diego Zoo of the mafia.
Is it really?
The witness protection program moved them all to Arizona.
Oh, okay.
And Arizona's all mobbed up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, haven't you seen My Blue Heaven? No.
No. Henry Hill went to Nebraska, where I'm from.
Oh, I see. Yeah, they sent a lot to Minneapolis in the post-Prohibition days, too, so I guess Minneapolis got a good reputation.
Oh.
All the Chicago ones went there.
Oh, okay.
The more like the Irish mob.
Okay, that's tight.
But yeah, no, the people who ratted
collapsed.
out the mafia in the 80s and 90s all got sent to Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Arpeo.
one more reason not to go. Hey, Arpeo, that sounds Italian. I'm just saying. This movie did nothing for my opinion of Italians, which wasn't that low. I'm sorry, my first wife. God,
This depicted Italians exactly as I picture them.
Yeah. I like Italian stuff. I just, I'm not. Ooh. You know that noise? Like, ooh. They're Italian. It must be cool and suave and sophisticated. It's like, I was thinking this whole movie, like, the romanticism around European mafia is, first of all, pretty racist, but, like, even more so outdated. Like, to me, I want to watch, if I want to sit and watch, like, just a gangster family or a mafia family do its thing, I'd be much more interested in seeing a depiction right now from Mexico, like, of the...
Oh, yeah.
Kind of the drug, because that's the current thing, and that should resonate with our culture more because we have just as more immigrants percentage-wise from that part of the world. But nobody's made like a Godfather for... And then like had it released and had everybody go, ooh, what a gripping moral drama. It would be like, why are we making a movie about Mexican gangsters? They call them gangsters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what bothers me is like, these are... It's just gangsters,
right?
They're not that much. They're not more special.
Yeah,
I know they talk about honor and shit, but I'm sure that
it's not. They all rat each other out.
Mafia, or
they all rat each other out. They all work with the fucking FBI.
Yeah, or the Japanese mafia. I forget the name is
the Yakuza.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter what the ethnicity is. They all have the same bullshit. Fucking pirates.
Yeah, they all have their own internal weird justifications for all the murder they do.
At least pirates jump around and stab things. That's more fun to watch.
Actually, pirates mostly just like have like limbs fall off from like malnutrition.
I think that's what it is. I think I've always been able. I don't want to give myself like credit like I'm so smart, but like I've always seen through mafia movies as just pirate movies where the pirates are fat and lazy.
Oh, yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
They're just stealing shit that ain't theirs and then fighting each other for who gets to steal the most shit.
Yeah.
While trying to avoid the law.
Yeah,
but they're doing
scene
it on the ass.
The scene in Goodfellas where he takes Lorraine Bracco down through the restaurants, and they all sit. Yeah. That's any shot of like a pirate island.
Yes.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
They all have like something stashed somewhere, or whatever. I love heist movies. And this had no heist in it.
No heist. No actual crime.
No
actual cool crimes committed.
The only crimes committed were murders.
He just talked about how the only really crimes they discussed were like, we like to gamble, we like booze, we don't like drugs.
It was all like vice. It was all prostitution, gambling, and...
But it didn't even show them like doing any of that. It just talked about this is what we do.
Yeah.
There were it didn't get into the details of like how you might do that. How you might actually have to go about paying off a police officer.
Yeah, how it was just so rich
the facts of their crimes were just stated and never actually explained or presented.
They owned judges, politicians, the police force, and newspapers, at least. And then a couple of nightclubs and the wherewithal to have ninjas do horse shit with horse heads.
Yeah.
They had that kind of resources from running a lottery? I don't understand. From poker night?
Right.
From pimping? I don't think so. Like, the crime pays, but you have to get some sort of scale there.
They must have some. They must have had a lot of residual money from, I guess, the bootlegging days, like Prohibition.
Maybe, I'm sure they made a lot of money in bootlegging, but like, I thought the whole racket of the East Coast Mafia was protection. It was just threats of violence, and then we won't hurt you if you.
That's definitely what it was in
but
the
they didn't
era.
say that in this.
That was definitely what it was in the era that Goodfellas depicted.
Okay.
I don't know about this era.
In the, like,
and that's another thing is like this. This is like like so many eras removed from my idea of even the pop culture idea of the mafia.
Well, it's like in between, because we all know about the Prohibition era mafia, which wasn't necessarily Italian, but you know, that racket, the original racket,
right? But I know like Goodfellas took place later than this.
Yeah, it was like
and Sopranos
60s.
And Goodfellas was like kind of based on Goodfellas was kind of based on the Godfather idea of the mob, and then Sopranos was later than that, and that was based on like both of those previous two.
And they were like realistically portrayed as upper middle class because they got some strip clubs they can run drugs through.
Yeah,
that all felt really believable, and you kind of saw their business, and occasionally they would do some other shit, right? But like, it was mostly just drug running, you know.
Yeah, and like also their lives like clearly fucking sucked.
Yeah.
It was like,
and they were just as, that's what I liked about The Sopranos, is they were just as leveraged as like your average vice president of anonymous corporation who overbought a McMansion.
Yes,
like they weren't like sitting pretty; they were stretching.
Yeah, they were riding high on that '90s boom.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I could talk about The Sopranos.
Well, maybe The Sopranos should have won a fucking Academy Award, so we can talk about it on this podcast.
I think it finally won the number of Emmys equivalent to be an Academy Award. I think it's 5 Emmys equals 1 Academy Award. Right?
Is that the conversion rate?
I think so.
Okay.
I haven't looked at it. It's probably like 5.2. You know how metric goes to.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Like, yeah,
you have to round down sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like, I think 17 Grammys to get to an Oscar or something like that. It takes a lot of Grammys. You can't.
Well, Grammys are worthless because every Grammys you see a picture of an artist and they have got like 17 at once.
Exactly.
Like, how'd you get all those tonight?
Well, I'm Taylor Swift. And everybody else got 0 because they're not Taylor Swift. It's all about me! ! Check it out on iTunes or Spotify. Why did I plug Taylor Swift? Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Adam.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
It was a lot of fun, except for the parts that we just
except for the 3-hour movie.
Do you want to play anything while you're here?
Sure. I host a podcast with my friend Avery Moore, who you may have seen.
Yes, she has.
Blowing up everywhere. It's called
She's also been on this show.
Avery and Adam's Christmas Committee, the podcast. It's a year-round Christmas podcast that comes out once every few weeks when we feel like it.
That sounds just like Christmas. It happens at random. Great, and we'll see you next week with another classic of cinema that we fail to appreciate. Thanks for listening, and rate us and shit. Bye.